Good morning from sunny Southern California. Hope you all had a great weekend. I pretty much worked my tail off. It was a busy weekend at my job, but I got through it. And I've still got another day of work to go before I have a day off, but that's all right. This week I have 3 days off. It is Thanksgiving week, as you all know. Yeah, my voice is still not coming through completely clear. Seems like everybody's sick all the time since September, and some interesting football games over the weekend. My Rams actually beat the Seattle Seahawks. I turned the game off. It was in like the second quarter, I think, and I was just like, this isn't going to work out. They're not going to win this game. And I just turned it off, and then I checked the score this morning. Believe it or not, I didn't even look last night. I was more worried about my fantasy teams. And lo and behold, I checked the score, and the Rams beat the poor Seahawks again. My heart goes out to you guys, but you know what? Those Seattle fans are haters. They don't like the Rams, so, I'm not feeling too bad for them. At any rate, this is a show about basketball, so today I'm going to get into the top performers from the last week. We're going to go with the last 7 days. You know, I've been doing these shows going over the previous night's performances, but now that we're into the season, I'm going to start changing it up to the previous week. So when I do make a show, it's going to be covering the top performers of the last 7 days. And then I'll go over the free agents in this league, the top free agents. As you know, today, Monday, is transaction day. Get your transactions in by noon, and we'll go over the hot free agents from the last 7 days. And I'll talk a little bit about the hot rookies of the last week as well. You're looking at the standings right now. The Copperheads at the top of the standings, 13-1. Surprise start by the Copperheads. And, of course, Nikola Jokic is on that team, and that has a lot to do with it. But, of course, the Warriors aren't going anywhere. As you can see, they're sitting there at 12-2. The Lakers at 12-2, sitting right there with the Warriors, but less overall points on the season. Houston Rockets coming in fourth. They're having a strong season as usual, hanging around at 11-3. They're for real. You got the Pistons kind of outperforming their scoring at 9-5, and the Poway Eagles are rounding out the top 6 at 9-5, and it looks like they're overachieving based on that points total for the season. That team, of course, is led by Damian Lillard and Steph Curry. And you know, in this league, or maybe you don't know, but the top 6 teams get a first round bye into the second round, which is a best of 7 series. So at any rate, I will shift gears to the top players. I think right now I have the top free agents on the screen. And as you can see here, Jonathan Isaac, forward from Orlando, is leading the free agents for this week with 12.12 fantasy points per game in just 16 minutes of play. So a very good permanent performer there. JaVale McGee, the center from Sacramento, is coming in second with 12 fantasy points per game. Malik Beasley is a guard from the Bucks. He comes in at 11.9. Chris Boucher from Toronto, a forward, at 11.57. Najee Marshall of New Orleans, a forward, 11 points per game. Ochai Agbaji from the Utah Jazz, a guard. So a valuable player there, averaging 11 right now per game, and that is over the last 7 days. Terrence Mann, another guard from the Clippers, at 10.85. John Conchar, 10.68, guard from Memphis. You've got Dante DiVincenzo, the big ragu from the New York Knicks, coming in with 10 points at guard. He was a member of the Saints at the beginning of the season. I drafted him in the preseason draft and then quickly let him go because of his inconsistency. But I do like his overall numbers per minute. And next year when we do make the conversion to 48-minute stats, guys like this are going to be more valuable. And that's why you're going to hear me talk about 48-minute stats. And I've talked about that in previous videos. For those of you that have been paying attention, I don't mean to be repetitious, but for those of you that haven't seen previous videos, I need to be repetitious. At any rate, let's get on back to the list here. You got Jabari Walker, forward from the Portland Trailblazers with 10.18. Craig Porter, a guard from Cleveland at 9.35. We've got Jordan Nwora. I guess it's Nwora, perhaps. He comes in at 18.4 per game. He is only playing in, I guess, 23 minutes per game. And the reason he is not higher on the list is because he has 18.4 overall fantasy points. So he played in less games than the other guys, apparently. Down here, you'll see the games played. Hold on, I'll look him up. Right there, 4. He played in just one game in his last 7 weeks, and that's why he comes through with that higher fantasy score, 18.4. And you can see the rest of the list there. Just go into players and then all available. I think it's the first thing that you'll see when you go into players and all available players if you want to see who's the best free agents are. And then you go up here and you click onto days back. You can go 14 days back, 7, just 1, 30. You can see the options there. And let's take a look now at the top players for the last 7 days in the league. And this is all players. It would include free agents. There are no free agents on this list, but topping the list is Domantas Sabonis. He was part of that last video that I made that wasn't very popular. I noticed it only had 2 views after a couple days being out. Apparently people don't want to listen to news about Domantas Sabonis. I guess playing for the Kings, it's a small market team and not a lot of interest there on that one. But Sabonis has been a red-hot player, averaging 53 points per 48 minutes, fantasy points. Nikola Jokic, as expected, number 2 on the list. Jokic with 55 per 48 minutes. LeBron James comes in with 47 per 48. You've got Joel Embiid at 43 points per 48 minutes. He is 4th on the list overall. Damian Lillard, guard from the Poway Eagles. I didn't mention, by the way, the teams that these guys are playing for. Domantas Sabonis playing for Sacramento in this league. Jokic plays for the Copperheads. LeBron James for the Lake Show. And Embiid is a member of the San Diego Saints. Damian Lillard, I mentioned just now, Poway Eagles. That's Randy Engelhorn's team. Kevin Durant comes in with the 6th best performance over the last 7 days. And he plays for Denny Copeland's Boston Celtics, 37 per 48 for him. Evan Mobley, center for Cleveland, in real life, that is. Copperheads in this league. He has 38 per 48. And again, he is 7th place on the list. Mobley is Jacob Podol. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing all these names right. As I said, guys, 2 years into this league, I have to watch more basketball. I'm going to get the NBA League Pass eventually and start, getting more in tune with the names and everything in general. But, I'm mostly about trying to construct this league right now, make it a better league. That's why I'm talking about the conversion to 48-minute stats. This is going to be a realistic league where GMs are going to really be pushed to do their research and to know who the valuable players are on a per minute basis and then make a ranking list. And then on top of that, later in this video, I'm also going to get into my proposals for contracts. Now, I've backed away from the idea of salaries. And like that draft I mentioned in a previous video where I talked about maybe doing a auction draft. I don't think so. I think we're going to stay away from all of that stuff. We're going to stay away from salaries. I think it's really going to be simple and basic if we just basically say, hey, end of the year, you've got a player that you just signed this year. You can have him the first year. And at the end of the year, you got to decide, you got to tell me how many years you want to keep the guy. And it could be any number of years you want. So if you've got a star, you've got a Jokic on your team. If you've got Luka Doncic, somebody like that, 15 years if you want him. That's fine. Keep him for 15 years. And at the end of that 15 years, the guy becomes an unrestricted free agent. No franchise tags, none of that stuff. If you want to keep a guy for 1 year, at the end of that 1 year, he becomes an unrestricted free agent. Enters the draft, can be drafted by anybody. That's kind of, and I'm going to get more into it in a minute. But first of all, let's just finish up the list here. I think I was on Jacob Podol. We're going to talk about Karl Anthony Towns next. Karl Anthony Towns comes in with 37 points per 48 minutes. and he plays for the Clippers in this league. I think AJ Nardi is running the Clippers. De'Aaron Fox is the 10th hottest player in the last 7 days, 34 per 48 minutes. He plays for the Kings in this league. Kings is a hot available team, an orphan team in this league, and it's looking for an owner, a GM, and I'd rather it not be one of the guys that's already in the league. I want it to be somebody from the outside, a newcomer. So I'm reserving the remaining teams that are available for newcomers. I'd rather guys not run more than 2 teams in this league. And those of you that are running 2 teams right now, eventually if the league, when the league hopefully fills up with more guys, then we'll start giving up our extra teams so that you know, every team has just one general manager. Let's move on to rookies now. Hot rookies from the last 7 days, that is. Azor Thompson. He has definitely been the rookie of the year so far for the Carolina Copperheads. Azor Thompson of the Copperheads comes in first. You've got Chet Holmgren of the Warriors coming in second with 19.65 per 40, or just 19.65 fantasy points. Coming in third is Derek Lively of the Kings. Victor Wembanyama of the Denver Nuggets. That's AJ Nardi's team. Keontae George of the San Antonio Spurs. Next on the list, Jordan Hawkins of the San Diego Saints. That's my team. Brandon Podziemski of the Guardians is next on the list. Let's see what his rank is here. 7th. We're down to 8th. It's Bilal Coulibaly with 18.1 fantasy points. And he comes from the Detroit Pistons in this league. That is the Fort Wayne Pistons, run by Ben Johnson. Carson Wallace of the Dallas Mavericks in this league is next at 9th overall with 12.1 fantasy points. And Marquise Noel, a free agent rookie from the Toronto Raptors, 9.4 fantasy points. Others to mention here, Brandon Miller from the Phoenix Suns. We got Jalen Pickett from the Denver Nuggets, a rookie, who is a free agent. Vasilije Micic, I guess. I mean, these names. 7.6, he's another free agent. I'm just mentioning the free agents right now. Ben Shepherd, guard from Indiana, also just 2.8 fantasy points. Nothing special there, but those are your rookies. Okay, so let's move on now to a couple other orders of business. It's been a few days since I've done a show, so I'm just trying to cover all the bases here. And man, my voice is really fighting me today. I'm really sorry, guys. It's kind of distracting me. Injury news, kind of all over the board. And look at there. Tari Eason has got this leg issue, and it continues. So Tari Eason started the season dealing with leg issues. He came back. He's been playing for a while, and they're just going to basically manage his injury, it looks like. So it's nothing serious. It's not like it's going to keep him out for a long period of time, but he is going to take a little time off, it appears. So it's not as bad of news as I thought maybe initially when I saw the report. Tari Eason, of course, plays for the San Diego Saints, so that's concerning news. The Saints are dealing with a number of injuries right now. They've got C.J. McCollum ailing with a collapsed lung, and the Saints actually only fielded 2 guards this scoring period. Other injury news, as you can see right there, C.J. McCollum, looks like there's some more news on him. Out indefinitely, they are saying, and he remains out without a clear timetable for his return. So, again, Jordan Hawkins, the rookie, has been taking up a lot of minutes for C.J. McCollum because of the injury, which is fine for the Saints. Anthony Simons out right now, remains out indefinitely, it says here, about 2 to 3 weeks away. I want to finish this video talking a little bit about that contract idea I had earlier. So it's pretty simple. It's like this. Let's just use one player as an example. You have a player and you've signed him to a 7-year contract. And 3 years into the contract, either he has suffered a major injury that's going to end his career. Maybe he ran off, joined a cult and ran off to South America. Or perhaps he's just not performing up to the level of a keeper type player and you just want to get him off the roster. Maybe he's just really gotten that bad. You could buy his contract out by giving up next year's round 1 and round 2 picks. Basically, you can give up picks up to the third round each year to do buyouts. So if you're just, let's just keep it simple and make it just this one player. You want to buy out his contract in the offseason. That means you lose round 1 and round 2 next year. And if you want to buy out a second contract, then it would be your next year's round 3, and then you go to the year after that and it's round 1. And if there's a third guy, then you would lose round 2 and 3 2 years from now. So it's always your next 2 picks that are available up to round 3 each off season when you want to buy out a contract. But again, keeping it simple. Let's say it's the off season. You got a guy that you just want to buy him out. You want to free up the roster spot because he's not productive enough. It's going to cost you round 1 and round 2, the upcoming draft. And it just goes right on down the line. Now, on top of that, going into each off season, if you have lost draft picks, let's say you've got a buyout and you've lost 2 draft picks, that means you have to clear out roster space to make up for those draft picks. That means if you've got 2 picks missing because of a buyout, you can only keep 13 players on your current roster because you have to leave 2 empty spots. If you've got 3 picks missing, then you can only protect 12 players. And it's pretty simple. You can never lose more than 3 picks, your top 3 picks for any given draft based on buyouts. So if you've got the maximum of 3 missing picks, then you can only keep 12 players. And the way it will work also as far as filling out your roster is your picks are then moved to the end of the draft after all teams have made their selections. Then the teams with buyouts, they have their supplemental draft at the end, and it's based on the standings, reverse order of the standings. All the teams with buyout selections, because they lost picks due to buyouts, they will pick at the end of the draft, and that's how they fill out their roster. I think that's fairly straightforward. And again, I will make a post on the message board outlining this whole thing. But I like the idea because you guys aren't going to lose any of your players that you drafted with the intention of having them maybe indefinitely. But it also puts you in the position where you have to make tough decisions, and that's the fun of the game, is making tough decisions. You've got a guy, he's pretty good. Let's leave the superstars out of this. He's not like the top guy, but he's a pretty darn good player. But how long do you think is he going to perform to where he's keeper status? You're not really sure, He had a pretty good year, but do you keep him 2 years? Maybe just 1 year because you're afraid to take a chance? Maybe 5 years? And you're going to be forced to make that decision, which is going to be kind of, interesting in my opinion. I mean, very interesting. How long do you really keep a guy for? Because when you lose him, when the years on the contract expire, he's an unrestricted free agent. So it doesn't matter if he becomes a superstar. You protected him for 3 years, and now he becomes a superstar in 3 years. I'm sorry. You signed him to a 3-year deal. That's the punishment. And then, of course, if you get a guy, you sign him to too long of a contract, he becomes kind of worthless. It's going to cost you. You're going to have to buy him out. This is what they do in real life. I think this is going to add an aspect to this league that's going to make it really fun, really interesting. I don't know if you can hear this voice in the background, but some guy's out there talking a mile a minute about something. He wants everybody to know about it. Anyways, I'm going to wrap up the video at this point. It's just a little introduction to my idea about contract lengths. I like it because you guys aren't going to lose your players. You can keep as many as you want. Keep them as many years as you want. You got Doncic, give him a lifetime contract, 15 years. If he joins a hippie convent and leaves the league, hey man, it's on you. You're going to have to lose some picks for that. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So, with that, a happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Hope you enjoy the rest of your week. It's going to be beautiful weather here in Southern California. It's still hanging around, that great weather. But again, people have colds, and I definitely have something eating at me right now. But, my immune system will fight it. I'm doubling up on the vitamin C. I eat healthy. I think I'll be all right. I'll get through this thing. And I will be back with a show on Friday when we get the new results. Yeah, I'll make another show on Friday when we have the game results from the next game period, which begins tonight and ends on Thursday. Get your free agents in before noon today Pacific. That's 3 p.m. on the East Coast. And other than that, enjoy your Turkey Day, everybody. Talk to you later.